Hi, this is Matt at Custom Car Grills with a mesh install for a 2015 and newer Ford Focus ST. After the grill has been removed from the bumper, we've got full access to modify it. Linked in our description below is a video from another owner with a tutorial for the bumper removal. To gut the center portion out, I like using both a handsaw like this one, as well as a Dremel equipped with a spiral cutting bit. The Dremel can be good for making most of the cuts in a timely manner. I did the driver's side with this bit, and while the cutting went quick, it was a little difficult to control. With these cuts, I was trying to stay about a ½ inch away from the edge. On the passenger side, I tried my cutting skills with the handsaw, and this was a viable alternative. I felt that I had more control, but it was a lot more work and a lot slower. Regardless of how the cuts are made, once they're made, then the center portion should lift right out. To refine this down, I'm going to use my number 543 cutting and shaping wheel for my Dremel. With this, I can knock down the remaining protruding plastic a little better. Even with this Dremel bit, I still need to keep my distance a little so that I'm not cutting into the outer rim. The corners are especially a little tricky and might require a couple angles of approach to cut them down. Here's a quick shot of the rough cuts and sanding thus far. To refine it further, I'm going to grab either a sanding drum or sanding flap wheel attachment. Quite honestly, this step here will likely make or break most installs. I spent a lot of time sanding the inside edge to be flat and consistent. The more attention to detail here, the better the end product will look on the vehicle. Other tools such as sanding blocks or a mini belt sander can be very effective for this step too. If everything was done correctly, the end result should be a nice clean edge like this one. I'm going to paint the grill surround, and to make sure none of the aggressive sanding marks show through, I'm going to grab some fine grit sandpaper. Simply going over the cut areas a few times will improve the paint job quite a bit. As long as there's no pits from the cutting or sanding, then no body filler should be required. In the case of this grill, I took it straight from sanding to painting. Overall, this grill frame looks great, and now it's just a matter of installing the mesh. Speaking of which, here's a look at the mesh piece we have for sale on our website. This is pre-cut and pre-formed to the exact shape and size that is needed to do this mod. The bent part of the mesh should contour tight to the back of the grill shell, and the mesh is not intended to be fit on the inside edge. We shipped this mesh formed on the edges, but otherwise flat. The left and right edge of the grill is curved. To get an exact fit on the back of the grill frame, I'm going to slightly curve the mesh like so. After a little bit of working on the material, the mesh is now a perfect fit and ready to affix to the frame. To get the mesh temporarily held on tight, I'm going to use some cable ties and foam. It's just a matter of looping the tail end of the tie around the frame and through the mesh to the head of the tie. There's a bit of a fine balance of tying these on too tight or too loose. What I'm looking for is the mesh to be tight against the back of the grill frame while not distorting the frame at all. If the frame is noticeably warping, or if the mesh is not close to touching the edge, then adjustments to the ties or mesh may be required. Once all the ties are on, I'll trim the tail ends off and throw them away. To bond the mesh and frame together, I'm going to use a body panel adhesive like Valvoline's Plyo Grip, though other adhesives such as Automotive Goop can work as well. The Plyo Grip that I'm using cures quickly and bonds the plastic really well, so it's ideal for this project. I'm simply dispensing the adhesive through the holes of the mesh while carefully making sure that none spills through the front. Once I've got a small section completed, I'll take something like a toothpick and smooth over the edge so there's no excess buildup on the back. Here's a close-up of the application of the Plyo Grip. Getting it filled in between the mesh holes is all that's needed, and then a little cleanup of the excess and we're good to go. Once this is hardened up, I can cut the ties off and remove the foam. The mod to the grill is complete. Let's flip it around and see how it turned out. Whoa, this looks really good. The mesh is really tight up against the back of the frame, and it looks seamless. This is a much more open design than the stock grill, and it can be easily customized with logos or lettering. Because the mesh wrapped around the back, there was some thickness that was added to the grill, which is now preventing the grill from being reinstalled on the bumper without doing a little bit more modification. To mod the bumper, I'm first going to cut off the pill-shaped plastic protrusions as seen here. Then I'll cut a line roughly through the center of where those pill-shaped pieces were. It's important not to cut any deeper than this, because then the grill frame tabs won't have a slot to fit into anymore. Once the modified grill is back on the bumper, I'm going to use a little adhesive around the mounting tabs to make sure that they stay put. Lastly, I reinstalled the bumper, and here's some pictures of the completed grill back on the car. Overall, this mod makes for a good weekend project, and it's a must-have mod for any Focus ST owner looking to change their grill up. If you have any questions about this install, then feel free to contact me, and thanks for watching.